Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.
And welcome to Behind the Mirror of Music. My name is Dannii Cohen. This week's guest is Sidonie Smith. Sidonie Smith is a multi-talented performer who has been the leading lady in Sister Act, Aida, Legally Blonde, Sweeney Todd, Jekyll Hyde, Rent, and The Bodyguard in various international productions. Next to her acting and singing, she's also a talented violin and viola player, a skill she often uses in her stage work. This month, Sidonie will be performing in Israel in a brand new production called Tina, Simply the Best. I hope that you'll enjoy the show. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So, what are you doing right now in your life and career?
In my life and career, I have something that I'm so excited to be working on. I will be doing a Tina Turner tour. It's called Tina Simply the Best, 5 engagements in Israel. So that's what I have coming up next. And then after that is a really exciting project. It's a two-person play. It's never been played in Germany before. And I get to play it with my husband. And that is actually still a secret, but I figure by the time the interview is live, I'll be able to say that.
Such an amazing projects, both of them. And the one in Israel is going to be the first big musical event since October 7, I heard.
Yes, I believe the last artist that came through was Bruno Mars 15 or 16 months ago. And so I feel honored. To bring a bit of, like we say in German, Kunst und Kultur back to Israel.
It's a wonderful thing to do. And you have this very special producer for that too, I heard.
Yes. Funnily enough, we had worked together 2 or 3 times before we ever met in person. His name is Nathan Nakashawa, and we met during the lockdown because he started producing online concerts. And there's quite a few colleagues that I worked with for the first time during these online concerts because we were all at home. Everybody had time. It didn't matter what city you were in. He organized several concerts. I feel like he did 10 or 12, and I hope I'm not wrong. But I got to be in 2 of them. And they were called Stars from the House, and we just got together and did some of the duets and trios and soli that weren't able to go on stage at that time.
It was such a weird time, the lockdown, because well, it was when I began doing these interviews too, because as a project.
I mean, honestly, I don't want to make it seem like it was a good time. Excuse me, I have to put this on Do Not Disturb. It was a really stressful and tragic time for a lot of people, but I'm proud of us as a unit. I'm proud of what we decided to make out of it. A lot of people created new careers for themselves or made new hobbies or new friends and connections. And so I'm just proud of our community that we were able to make something beautiful, even in a terrible time.
Absolutely, it's as the power of art, I think.
It's really true. And artists, because I think that one of our gifts is that we have to make something out of nothing, like whether it's photography or painting or, dance or what I do. Basically, the piece kind of exists in the ether, but we make it a thing that people can see and experience. And so I think that was kind of the assignment during COVID. Like, okay, how can we make something out of nothing, even in this situation where we can't leave home? And people found really exciting ways. And Nathan, for example, invited me into his way, and that was really cool that we get to now do something live together.
How did you fall in love with music and acting?
Oh, okay, that's good. Funnily enough, when it was happening, I didn't notice, but when I look back, it's so clear. But I am an orchestra kid, so I grew up playing in orchestras in my schools and in the community in Miami. My first career path was playing viola and violin. And so I had the good luck to be in really great performing arts schools. I just wasn't in the drama program. I was in the music program. And so it so happened that I played in the orchestra pit my whole life, whether in school or professionally. And then when I went to college to study violin and viola, then, you know, for extra money, I would play in the orchestra pit for musicals. And like I said, when I look back, it was obvious that I was obsessed with musicals because I would memorize my entire score so that from the pit I could like watch the whole show and I wouldn't have to actually look at my music. I can remember from the very beginning, I knew everybody's lines from down in the pit. And it just took me a while to admit it to myself that it's something that I really wanted to try.
When did you discover that you wanted to try it, and how did you train?
What happened was I was already in my senior year of university. So I was getting my bachelor's degree in viola performance. And just in case, because people ask what a viola is, in German it's Bratsche, in case you already know, if you're living in Germany and understand that word. So there are 4 instruments in the classical string family. You have violin, which is a soprano voice, a viola, which is slightly bigger, still played this way, slightly bigger. It's the alto voice, and of course, cello is a tenor voice, and then upright bass, like contrabass. Contrabass is the bass voice. And so I have always played the alto voice in ensembles using the viola. So I was in my senior year of college. I was getting my bachelor's degree in viola performance. And I remember the moment when I knew. I'm a very passionate person. I love what I do. Like when you play strings, you have to practice. Like I used to practice 6 hours a day. You know, you sit in a room, tiny room by yourself, and you just practice. You just practice. And I remember sitting in an orchestra rehearsal. And I remember my lovely conductor making a correction, you know, telling the violins or the oboes or somebody to do something differently as rehearsal goes. And I noticed in myself that I didn't care. And not in a kind of like, we say bockig in German, not in a, not with any kind of attitude. I just knew in myself that it wasn't important to me anymore. And I was like, okay, don't panic. You're almost done with this degree, and apparently your passion is not there like it used to be. Don't panic. What do you want to do? So I just had some serious conversations with myself, and I made a really big decision to, in my my senior year of school, my final year, that I wanted to throw myself into theater because that's what my heart actually wanted to do. And it was quite a big decision because I had to change my degree program. I had to give up my scholarship because in order to take all of the voice classes and the acting classes and all of the things that I all of a sudden needed to learn, I needed to change the ensembles I was in. So for example, if I wasn't taking viola lessons, and if I wasn't playing in all of the ensembles, in all of the orchestras that I was required to play, I couldn't get my scholarship anymore. But I was like, it's okay, I'll figure it out. And I went into the dean's office and I canceled my scholarship and I changed my track. And there were some professors who thought that was the stupidest thing I could do, that I was throwing away my life and talent. And, you know, I've told the story before that I had an advisor who told me that I would never be cast, that this is very foolish what I'm doing to try to start something new. He was like, can you even sing? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to try. I'm going to find out. So at the same time I was doing those things, I just started to take every workshop I could find, like all of the bulletin boards around the university. If someone was giving a singing lesson, I was taking it. If there was a course about theater, if I could sweep the stage, you know, I was doing it, you know, because we had a great theater department at the university. I just wasn't in it. And so I was just trying to find a way to audition, to learn. Yeah, I was just a sponge. I got in dance classes right away. I started taking acting, which was like way out of my comfort zone as a very like introverted orchestra person. But I had found my passion again. I knew that this was something that I wanted to pursue. And so that's how and when I knew that I had a new love and I had to pursue it.
Such an amazing, different journey than usual. That's a big switch at that point.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I think that bravery is part of the artist's journey anyway, because I think that you have to be courageous to be the kind of person who will stand in front of people, you know, for your job. And not only when you're performing, also when you're auditioning, trying to get a job, you know, you've got to be pretty brave to take that kind of risk and be vulnerable. And I was really, you know, when I look back, I'm really proud of that version of me that was like, okay, I have a lot of security here. Like you know, I'm not paying for university, which in the United States, that's a big deal. This is very expensive to go to university. But, you know, I have the security of knowing that I've done this already for, you know, 12 years. I've been working really hard, and I, you know, will find my place in the industry. But switching, I don't know if I will find my place in the industry. I don't know. No one really knows when they go into like musical theater.
True.
It's gonna work out. But yeah, I'm proud of me for making the leap anyway.
So how did it work out for you? What was your first professional role?
Let's see. Funnily enough, right there in that university where my advisor told me I would never be cast, I had my first paying musical. And if I ever meet that gentleman again, I'm going to kindly just tell him that story because I think he still is an advisor at the university. And I just want him to know that it's important to like give young adults their space because, you know, sometimes the crazy chance does work out. So like I said, the university I went to had an incredibly good musical department, music department, and then also a wonderfully highly regarded theater department. And they, in the summer times, they hired professional actors to do shows, and they were looking for an actor who played the violin and sang at the same time. And it was like,
Amazing.
him. And I even was like brave. I remember saying, okay, I'm going to come in and audition for this role for the part that plays the fiddle and sings and dances. But would you also let me sing for the leading role? Like, may I also audition for that? And I didn't get it. But I think that even that is just, that is a marker of actual passion. I was chasing after something I wanted that I, with like so little experience, was like, okay, but just give me a chance to audition for the lead role. I know I'm more suited for the other one, but let me give it a try. And I didn't get the leading role, but I got this role that sang and played at the same time, and that was my first professional paying gig right there at that same university.
Such an amazing coincidence. The universe really wanted you to be a performer.
That was really kind of the universe. Appreciated it very much.
Did you do more roles in America, or did you move to Germany soon after?
I did roles here and there. I did a little bit of commercial work, TV here and there. And then I went to get my master's degree in musical theater because that's not what I had studied. I had really just done kind of a patchwork quilt of just learning wherever I could. But I thought, okay, to do this right, you have to go to school, right? That's what I thought anyway. And so I applied to graduate schools, and I was in the middle of studying for my master's degree in musical theater when Germany happened, quote unquote, for me. And so I actually interrupted my master's program to move to Germany.
And I think you stayed there from that point on.
Basically, yeah. I like to say that I that I came for 3 weeks, and that was 18 years ago. I have been in other countries for long periods. I was in Austria for over 3 years. I worked in LA for 2 periods of 6 months. So I've been gone for longer periods, in Switzerland for periods of time, but it would not be incorrect to say I've been in Germany since then, yeah.
What was your breakthrough role there, or your first role?
Let's see. The first show I did here was called Buddy, the Buddy Holly musical. And I have such great memories of that production. I have such good friends. I would say some of my closest friends in the industry I met at that show, like right in the beginning of my time here. And shortly after that, I had my first lead, which was Aida in Aida. So that was my first big role.
It's also an amazing role, Aida.
Oh, I love it. I love, oh, if I can tell this story. Aida was the first show I ever saw on Broadway. And we were so naive. I had no idea. So I was finishing high school. It was my final year of high school. And my mom decided as a gift to take me to New York. That was my graduation present. And like I said, like I was only an orchestra kid. I had never paid attention to Broadway. I didn't really know, but we were in New York City. And so I remember her saying, she saw the poster and she was like, Aida, what's that? Looks good. $20, let's go. And I was like, okay, let's go see Aida, whatever that is. And we went in there. Oh, and I'm sure the true acting bug, I bet you I caught it that day and didn't even know. But that show, there are some pieces out there that I can't even see objectively. It's just perfect for me because it was an experience. And the leading lady is still one of my heroes today. I didn't meet her until like 10, 12 years later, and she's just as great as I thought. But I mean, I went in there and the music was rocky, but it was based on Verdi because I'm coming from a classical background. So it's based on Verdi, but it's rock opera. And this leading lady is this like tall, lanky Caribbean woman, you know, built like me. And I was blown away. I listened to that CD until I'm sure there's an extra hole in it. I can't believe I listen to the thing constantly. So to have Aida be my first leading role was really special.
Must have been because sort of all your dreams going true at once.
Yeah.
Leading role, your favorite show. It's absolutely amazing experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you have any special memories from your time on the show?
Oh, let's see. I think that honestly preparing for it was really special because I was always very conscientious about the language. Like I always gave my best. I'm just kind of one of those studious types that if I have a challenge in front of me, like learning German, for example, I'm going to do it whole hog. But this was the first time I got to really showcase it, you know, how hard I had been working to be like accent free and to be able to like emote in a way that's authentic, even in, you know, another language. So it was really special to like sit down and break down the phonetics, you know, together with, I had a coach back then who helped me go through everything phonetically and just make sure it flowed, and then to go back through and connect that to the emotion and make sure that neither thing got lost, that the, you know, the intentions don't get lost, but also the consonants don't get lost. German, you know, has a few more consonants than English. Yeah, that was really, really special that I, you know, was able to cement myself as somebody, you know, I was in the game in this industry. Like I was a leading lady that could speak German clearly and you know, use it in a fluid and fluent way. And that was really special.
Do you still have problems with German, or is it easier for you now?
Oh, it was always, I find German to not be a difficult language. A lot of people see it differently, but I think that the way I approached it just really worked for me. I just last night, oh my goodness, this is really funny. Just last night, I watched a video of me after 3 months in Germany singing a trio with two people from my conservatory, a trio from Aida, funnily enough. And the phonetics were on point. And I was so proud of baby Sid because it was like that I did, you know, 3 months in, I really had focused on pronunciation, even such that I could pronounce words that I didn't understand yet, you know? So the people that I was working with said, listen, what you want to do is make sure you don't have an accent. And I was like, all right, let's go. And so I started to really learn the rules and just how to like sight read or cold read in German. And at the same time, I was at night sitting up and learning grammar and things like that, and reading books in German and just trying to improve, because I wanted to be that person that, you know, was on stage, it was undetectable. And then eventually in interviews, I wanted to also, you know, when I was working with like text that wasn't memorized, but it was just coming out of me, that it was also as close to perfect as possible. So I learned German comfortably. I was comfortable in about a year. And I know that, you know, you never stop developing, but I really found it to be a good match for me, if that makes sense. I was able to learn it fairly easily.
I also have the thing because I'm actually in the Netherlands that I that I sometimes mix up languages when I've been talking in one or the other for so long.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I have I was sent some audition material for a show that I've only ever done in German, and I'm very nervous because it's very easy when you're dealing with something familiar, or in your case, like you were saying, if you've been speaking one of your languages all day, to just turn into this. And funnily enough, I would be messing up in my native tongue. So hopefully I can sort that out in my brain.
Show you've done a lot. I saw your CV was Jekyll Hyde, Lucy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that show. Jekyll Hyde is a favorite of mine, but I've been really fortunate, really blessed. I've mostly only done things where I really like the piece. Like I'm thankful for that. I often remark that I've had the good fortune to do a lot of shows that I just really like, and work with a lot of people that I just really like and get along with. It's quite a nice market here in Germany, I have to say. I've just met hundreds of kind people over the time, and some of them are just for a season that you hang out with them in a certain show, and then, you know, you part ways, and then others of them are friends for a lifetime. So I've been very lucky.
You also did Sister Act and indeed a lot of great and lovely shows. What are some of your favorite roles?
That's hard. I'm That's a hard question because I said I really like this that I've gotten to do. Okay, I'll go fast. I love Sweeney Todd. I got to play Joanna, and that production was really cool because there's a version of Sweeney Todd where the cast is the orchestra. So we all played instruments and there was no orchestra, and that was, you know, my worlds converging. That was really cool. Sister Act is great fun. It's great, great fun. Bodyguard is something that I got to do in two different cities, and that was amazing. I'm gonna leave something out, I know. Tarzan. Tarzan's really beautiful. Yeah, we'll leave it there, or I'll just list the whole CV.
Is there still a dream role you have? Something you really wish to do?
Right now, I'm just kind of letting what's for me come to me. I used to have a hard and fast list of things that I wanted to happen, but I noticed in my life that if I just like release it more, I'm much happier. And then like nice surprises can come to me, like this show that I'm doing with my husband. I didn't know it existed. And then, you know, I was approached about it, and I listened to it again today, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get to sing this really beautiful music. And I wouldn't even have known to wish for that. So I just let it come to me the way life does.
Is there something else that you really want to do in your career?
I hope that there's space in my life, like energetically, or, you know, that it comes to be that I get to really do work with other introverted artists, whether they be like peers or younger people who are, you know, just starting, because I think that one of the reasons I didn't start earlier is because I'm by nature a very shy person, and then I was discouraged from doing theater when I was younger because my family thought I would be too nervous or be too sad if I didn't get a part. And I appreciate that. It shows that somebody cared about me and was caring about my well-being. But I do sometimes wonder, maybe I just needed some guidance. Maybe I just needed to be just helped along my way, because I think that even though I'm introverted and even though I was shy, I still had this like streak of bravery that was inexplicable even when I was younger. And so part of me has always wanted to, whether it's just like a workshop or it's truly a course, really develop something to work with introverted artists, because there's so many of us. Like many of the people that all of us look up to are not like blah, you know, they're more they're I'm picking my words carefully because I never want to position introversion over extroversion or the other way around, because sometimes people can treat it like being an extrovert is what you need to be on stage. Not necessarily. There are so many great things about how introverts listen and how they take in information and just are really attentive to the slightest little eyebrow twitch or whatever their partner's giving them. But what I wanted to say is that a lot of the people that we look up to on stage and on screen are actually introverted. Yeah. So one of these days I'll get to share what I've learned and help people who are trying to find their way.
I noticed that myself in the interviews, because you meet these people who did these enormous big roles like Phantom or Sweeney Todd, and then they're just the sweetest, quietest, shyest people. And it's always, I used to perform in the past, and they always said to me like, well, we don't believe you that quiet because you're not on stage, and that's just a totally different person.
Yeah, it's so often people don't believe me when I say I'm introverted, and like, you know, my husband will laugh at them because I like my little cave. I like to recharge at home. I really like people, especially if I can interact one-on-one. That's what I love about theater. You know, that
Yes.
scene, like one-on-one or one-on-two, you know, in a small space, even if someone's watching, but for me, it's still quite individual. At the stage door, I love to meet, you know, people, individuals and get to know them. But as soon as I'm home, I have to like charge like my iPhone, like so I can do it, because it's something that I like it, but it costs something for me. I don't get energy from it. I am expending energy to do it.
And with me, it was I thought I was an introvert, and then later I was diagnosed with autism, which is a whole other thing. But there's some correlation between it, because it's all both about needing to recharge after too much conversation, too much people, and everything.
Yeah, I feel like I am my best when I'm charged. It's not that it's impossible to talk to a crowd for hours and hours and hours and hours, but I know that I am more of myself when I have the chance to breathe and sit by myself for a moment and then recharge.
That's actually what I do on days that I interview. I try to take quiet time before that and after that, so that I can focus on the guest and the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a gift to know yourself. I think that when I grew up, it was often just kind of like people put a value on how, I can only speak for in my environment. It was like, you're quiet, that's bad, or you're smart, that's good, and you know, everything was like yes or no, good or bad. Whereas I think the truth is a lot of people are super duper smart, but don't have a chance to explore that or show that because of how schools are. You know, some people are smart and can show their intelligence in other ways and they're absolutely brilliant, but maybe they're not so good at taking a test, you know? Same thing with like a personality. They might one might say, oh, you need time to recharge. You can't just like be the life of the party. That's bad. No, it's a gift to know that you can be the best version of yourself if you have charged. You know, it's a gift to owe yourself. And it's okay to be different. It's great to be different, actually, because it means that you have other strengths that other people actually struggle with. They have to figure out how to be more like you in certain areas.
Wonderfully said. It's strange that a lot of people just put value on the one who speaks the loudest, when often the other voices have a lot more to say.
Yeah, often. And I'm never like, you know, going down on my friends and colleagues and even strangers that are extroverted, because that's a gift in and of itself. Like, to just be magnetic all the time, that's amazing. It's just a different gift than what I have.
Yeah, sometimes I see people like that and I envy them, and on the other I think, but there must come a time when it becomes exhausting for them and they
Maybe.
realize.
Yeah. And on top of that, we only see a little bit of people's lives, whether we know them in person or see them online. We're only seeing so much of what goes into being them. And so it's better to just master being yourself.
I once saw an artist who was always out there all the time. And later on, he became a lot more quiet, and he said it had been an act for all these years because he thought that's what he needed to be to be seen. But then he realized, oh, he wants to be himself.
Yeah. I think that it's a journey sometimes to learn how to turn on that kind of I think of it like those old school like painter palettes that have like a red and a blue and a yellow and all of these things. And I feel like we're all of these things. And there's some days or some auditions, for example, where the job is to be a showman. And so I have to like paint a little bit differently. And I got to use a lot more red than I normally would to do this, because I have to give them, for example, Tina Turner, you know? And funnily enough, when you see her in interviews, she is just like the most demure, quiet. And when she is on stage, she's an absolute beast. Like, she's, I mean, up into her 60s, like dancing with her backup singers, full out, just like free and what people might say wild and crazy, you know. Maybe she saw it differently, but like as a human being, she's just like, yeah, a lot of people think that's how I am. It's not really how I am, but I know that's the Tina Turner personality, and I love seeing that, because it's just more common than we think that people are able to paint with the colors that they need to paint with in a certain situation, and then they go back to themselves.
It just seems like it's such an amazing thing to do, than to be so quiet and then come out to the stage, bam.
Yeah.
I think someone like Michael Jackson too.
Yeah, exactly. Example, you never saw him in an interview talking more than this. He was always talking at this level and sharing his, you know, brilliant mind. And on the other hand, he knew exactly what his vision was and how to, you know, ask the other artists around him for that to help make it come true. And on a stage, unstoppable.
Yes, it's always so amazing. You wonder what goes on in their mind when they see all those people certainly good, all cheering for them. I think that's what might bring that energy for that moment as well.
That is, it's a crazy thing. It's different for a lot of people. There, for a while, in my career, I didn't feel like I noticed the audience. Like, I almost, like, it's important to feel them. For example, if a laugh is lasting longer than usual, so that you start the next line not in the middle. If the laugh is like a wave, you want it to get to its highest point and then start the next line here. Not here while it's loud, not here while they're just getting the last joke, but you want to feel that. But in general, I wasn't able to feel like applause or this kind of like the feedback too much. Now I can notice it even more, but I don't think it was a bad thing, because I think that the more enraptured you are with the world on the stage, you know, and what you're creating, the more real it is for you and the more real it is for them, you know, whether it's comedy or serious. Like, as long as it's real, it comes across authentically.
Which do you prefer? When the light is on, you can see the audience, or when it's dark? Because
I like when it's dark.
it's also
Yeah, I
because
prefer.
we
Yeah,
sort of focus on them but don't see them, and that I
right.
think it works.
It's lovely because most shows, most the times, it's quite dark unless you're playing, you know, with audience all the way around you. It's quite dark, and so you can't see them. Plus, if I'm not wearing my glasses, I don't see you anyway. So, I mean, I see you because I'm sitting this close. But at first row, forget it, I can't see that. But then, you know, once the lights go up toward like finale, that's wonderful. It's wonderful to see who was there, and kind of sometimes you'll notice there's somebody laughing that has a really funny laugh, you know, in this section over here, and then when the lights are finally up, oh, there she is, you know. Um, yeah. So I do prefer when it's dark.
Do you feel there's a difference between the musical theater industry in Germany compared to America or other countries?
I think so. There are wonderful similarities in that we do a lot of the same productions, and I don't even mean just the same show. I mean, like, I always use the example that The Lion King on Broadway, if you watch König der Löwen in Hamburg on the Hafen and you cover your ears, it'll look just like Lion King on Broadway. Like, it is the same production. And so I love that I've been able to do a lot of the Broadway versions of shows transplanted, you know, with the same director and with the same costume design and scenic design. But I feel like there is a different sense of structure in Germany than in America. I feel like there is a bit more job security, honestly, because even shows that are running well, sometimes on Broadway, they will close like that because of other reasons. You know, it's quite complicated. It has to do with who is renting that particular theater and who's coming next. And I mean, there's probably 1,000 things I don't know that go into it. But sometimes a show, whether it's running poorly or running well, all of a sudden it's over and all those people are out of a job. On the other hand, in Germany, you sign your contract, you play your contract. You know, even if two people come to the theater, you're going to play your contract all the way to the end. And that is quite a bit of security for, you know, working in the performing arts.
Absolutely. I think hearing this is one of the best ones because, well, even in the Netherlands, there's sometimes shows that close just like that. I remember one actress who actually came to the theater and just saw a note on the theater and said that the show was over.
Oh, that's horrible. Oh, man, I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for that. It's hard, you know, being in this industry. You have to be quite tough. You have to be mentally strong and be okay with rejection, be okay with um, a lot of inconsistencies. But when you finally do get a job and for it to just disappear overnight, that's hard. That's really hard.
I think in Germany, because there are more towns that have a continuing
Mhm.
musical production going on, that might be more opportunities indeed than even in America or the UK.
It's hard for me to compare for sure just because I've been here for so long, but I can say with certainty there are a lot of places to do theater in Germany. Like, you have the huge houses, but then you have so many state and city theaters that have incredible theaters and have incredible facilities, great orchestras, ballet ensembles, like really great chances and quite the budget to try things out, you know. And what I appreciate about some of the state and city theaters, they do have the freedom to take a risk sometimes, take a risk on their what's the word, their, it's funny, I'm only thinking of the word in German even though
That's okay.
um the audience that abo is what you say in German, like the audience that comes every year,
Oh yeah.
subscribers, or I'll think of it by the as soon as we hang up this call, I will know the word. But they can really take a risk and say, hey, these people are gonna buy their tickets every year. So if we put something on the program that they've never heard of, because it would be a great piece, people will still come. That's not something that every house or every country can afford to do because it's expensive to put out shows. But we have the great good fortune that here people can try out things and do shows that folks haven't heard of, because you might find your next favorite show.
That's such a wonderful way of working.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one thing I hear about when I talk to a Broadway artist, that they say that they're so little risk taking, because they just need to fill those theaters, and they prefer going for the star names, the star shows. And I did notice when I looked at German production that there was so much variety, so many different shows, new names. And a lot of Broadway producers are even coming to you to try new shows.
Yeah, I think that we do see some of the same shows happening every year or every summer, but we can't forget that we're some of the lucky ones, because yes, you will have West Side Story and La Cage aux Folles and Cabaret happening in 3 different theaters at the same time in the summer. But people really have the opportunity to try out here, try out new things. And at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing to have a constant. West Side Story is a great show, you know? So it's okay that it's running in 3 different places. You know, that means there's more opportunity, more jobs.
True, and that's always the important thing, that actors can work.
Mm-hmm. True. And the audiences can have a night out and escape and go to the theater.
Yes.
Mm.
Is there anything you want to add to this interview that hasn't been asked, or that you wish to tell?
Oh, I would say, if you are watching this and you have the desire to sing and act and dance, do it. Don't worry about, like, if you can make $1 million. The chances are, I don't want to be negative, but like, you probably won't make $1 million. Most of us are not making $1 million, but that's not what it's about. And I would hate for anybody to miss a chance to really express themselves and have the joy of theater in their lives, because they're afraid that they're afraid of taking the chance. So I would say, if you're sitting at home and you're like, oh, I would love to at least one time do a musical, check out what's available in your community. You might be surprised at what's available to you. Give it a shot, take a voice lesson, go to a dance class. There's space for everybody to make music and create theater and like spread light and bring joy to others. So go for it.
Wonderful said, and thank you so much for your time in this lovely interview.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Really great to talk to you. Such a wonderful energy.
Oh, thanks. This is really lovely. I was so happy to see your email come through, or your message come through. I was like, yeah, of course I'll do that. Of course.
And all the best of luck with the Tina Turner project. I really hope it goes well.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.